I run a street stall in the cold palace. The emperor, holding our baby in his arms and imperial memorials in his hand, says to me,
"Darling, get me a taro paste boba milk tea." "No taro paste, no milk tea, just the boba."
This is my 3rd year in the cold palace, and it is incredibly comfortable. I've saved up enough money to buy a huge villa. As soon as night falls, and it is time to light the lamps, my little night market stall lights up right on time. Skewers, kimbap, fruit tea, spicy hot pot, hot dry noodles, Chinese hamburgers, and scallion pancakes. The aroma of authentic roasted wheat gluten is mouthwatering. There are also those who follow the smelly scent here. For example, Noble Consort Li of Qingwu Palace has a weakness for stinky tofu, but to save face, she always has her maids wrap it up tightly and sneaks it back to her palace while telling me to keep my mouth shut. Sheesh. First-class female attendant Yoon of Ziluo Palace is obsessed with river snail rice noodles. She always dresses up like a robber in the middle of the night and sneaks over here just to have a bowl. Then chews on a piece of refreshing mung bean cake before slipping back to her palace. Noble Lady Liang loves grilled sausages the most. Consort Shu absolutely loves pearl milk tea. Xiao the beautiful lady insists on adding tons of chili sauce to her Chinese flatbread. As for me, the one holding the title of Empress, I am drop-dead gorgeous, gentle and caring, elegant, classy, and absolutely badass. With the spirit of dedication I cultivated doing volunteer work in my past life, I work from dawn to dusk, enthusiastically serving these delicate imperial consorts in the palace. As for that dog of an emperor, I've never actually met him, but ever since I started my stall here, the maids who come to eat always gossip about him in secret, and I've casually overheard a thing or two.
I heard the emperor has a terrible temper
and keeps his distance from women. Every day he flips the name tablets to choose a consort, yet every day he fails to show up, waiting so long that the flowers of the concubines wither, living their lives completely cut off from the emperor day in and day out.
It wasn't until this late-night diner started up in the cold palace that they finally had a way to pass their evening hours. As I flipped the barbecue with both hands, I casually chimed in, "The emperor is probably into men." The little palace maid looked completely baffled.
What does that mean?
"Oh, nothing. Besides where the emperor usually goes and what he likes to eat." I also overheard some people speaking ill of me. One day, as I was humming a tune and brewing milk tea, I suddenly caught the keyword Empress. I immediately pricked up my ears and listened to every single word they said.
If it weren't for the trouble Her Highness the Empress caused, how could she have ended up selling things here?
But speaking of which, she deserves it. She just had to go and poison Lady Ning.
Wait, that Lady Ning is a woman. So after all this time, the emperor isn't gay.
Her Highness the Empress is really carefree, actually treating the cold palace like a treasure trove. Ha ha ha.
Laugh. Go ahead and keep laughing. I'm going to add some insanely hot chili to yours right now. Not that I actually care. What does any of this have to do with me? Making money is what is most important. It is a pity I transmigrated too late. That incident really wasn't my doing, nor was it the original Empress's doing. Clearly, Lady Ning drank the meat soup from my palace on her own, suffered a miscarriage for some bizarre reason, and then came over in a self-righteous fury to make false accusations. It seems she even hit me physically. When I first transmigrated here, I was already in the cold palace. Although my head throbbed for ages, at least I managed to recall some fragmented memories. Instead of being angry, I'm actually quite grateful to him. If I hadn't offended him, how could I have made fast money for these past 3 years? Making this much money truly makes me beam with joy. Over these 3 years, it seems that, except for that Lady Ning who never showed her face, the other concubines would sneak over here every few nights in the dead of night. As dawn was just about to break, I packed up my stall once they had eaten everything. Counting my bills, I headed back inside and hid the handsome profit I made today. I released a carrier pigeon, specifically to notify my older brother to quietly deliver ingredients for the next 2 days through the tunnel. Sheesh. Oh, I forgot to mention, my brother dug the tunnel. As for this little business of mine, my dad, my mom, and my brother are all for it. My family is a military family. My father and brother fight with their lives on the line to guard the border. Yet, this damn emperor threw me into the cold palace for some green tea side chick. Thinking about this, I ran to lock the courtyard gate. Apparently, Noble Consort Li got into trouble and was put in solitary confinement by the Empress Dowager for half a year.
Oh, such big gossip. Why didn't you say so before we ate all the skewers?
I didn't think of it just now.
Hearing their footsteps fade away, I really wanted to cry. Noble Consort Li is my biggest high-rolling customer. I thought I could live my cozy little life until I saved up enough money to buy a villa in the city center. But reality is far too harsh. On this day, a group of imperial guards surrounded me tightly. The leader stepped forward.
Please come with us.
Holy crap, it has been 3 years and only now do you come to bother me? I'm so over this. I rolled my eyes aggressively, but unable to win against the intimidation of that gleaming broadsword. I had no choice but to follow them obediently. Only when I was escorted into the Emperor's imperial study did I finally catch my breath. As soon as I looked up, I locked eyes with the Emperor. Oh my god, I thought he'd be a decrepit old man, but I didn't expect him to be so handsome, though the ferocity in his eyes made me furrow my brows. Before I could even relax, I saw him taking large strides towards me. He grabbed my chin with a tight grip. Oh my god. Oh my god. After all this, am I the villainous female supporting character? Aren't I supposed to be a career-focused, badass female lead who secures the bag and then bails? Or an unstoppable heroine who seduces all the handsome guys in the brothels? Your Majesty, what are you doing?
Why on earth did you treat Ninger like that?
As if I had nothing better to do than target your precious Ninger.
Humph, your mouth is as loose as ever. I really should demote you to a commoner and banish you straight to the Great Northwest.
My eyes instantly lit up. Sure, right now, immediately. The borderlands are awesome. Business would be even easier to do there. He suddenly froze, let go of my chin. He just knitted his brows tightly. I knew very well in my heart that he was absolutely terrified my biological father would beat him up. But coming back to the point, when on earth did I ever poison anyone? After arguing with this deadbeat scumbag for a whole hour, I finally understood what happened. Buddy, this sweetheart of yours, is her family so poor they can't even afford food? My face was full of question marks. What kind of constitution does she have to go into shock just from the smell of a mouthful of stinky tofu? This is a bit too ridiculous, isn't it?
No matter what, you cannot deliberately poison the imperial concubines.
He gritted his teeth.
You shrew.
You blind, filthy dog. I gritted my teeth, even more furious. Did you see me stuff it into her mouth with your own eyes?
It was Noble Consort Li who fed her.
That day, I traded insults with that damn emperor for the longest time. I nearly tore his royal study apart. A crowd of eunuchs desperately held me back, yet, even though he kept yelling back at me, he didn't punish me at all. Nor did he bring up the matter of my street stall. 3 days later, the emperor summoned me to the imperial kitchen again.
Consort Ning said she wants to order another portion.
The stench filled the entire room. I prepared 2 portions straight away, determined to choke that wretched Consort Ning with the stench, but the emperor strolled into the room without even knitting his brows and carried them off at once. I blinked hard. Does this guy have chronic rhinitis?
Let me tell you a secret.
The next day, I heard that Consort Ning had fainted again last night. The emperor actually stayed by her side the entire night. What a rotten couple. They really eyesore me. No way. Is Consort Ning using this cheap trick to play the delicate maiden just to win the emperor's sympathy? No, surely not. But isn't that ruining my specialty snack? While I was muttering to myself, a colorful crowd of figures suddenly drifted in front of me. Consort Ning had arrived. She really appeared the moment she was mentioned, but her small frame did look incredibly frail. It is fine if you came to visit, but why did you bring a whole crowd? I couldn't help but ask. This massive crowd of people lined up so neatly. It looked like a funeral procession.
Ever since sister entered this cold palace, I, your younger sister, haven't come to visit you yet. I didn't expect sister to start a business. You seem to be living quite comfortably.
She casually brushed aside her bangs.
Since sister has been banished to the cold palace, not only do you show no self-reflection, but you also treat the palace rules as completely nothing.
I rolled my eyes. The palace rules never said we can't set up stalls. Besides, I am boosting the national economic development. What do you know? Consort Ning was speechless. She waved her hand, ordering her subordinates to rush forward. At the small stall that hadn't even been fully set up yet, they went on a rampage, smashing and throwing everything.
Anyway, once this matter is reported to the Empress Dowager, you, the Empress, will surely be finished.
This green TB bitch actually dared to ruin my get-rich-quick scheme. Are you looking for death? Furious, I rushed forward and got into a physical fight with them, but this group of fierce old ladies almost tore my scalp ball, seeing that I was fighting to the bitter end, and that her own people were about to lose their footing. Consort Ning quickly called for a retreat, but even if they were running away, Why on earth did they steal my secret sauce? I immediately took off and chased after them. It was one thing to grab my pots and pans, but stealing my secret sauce? Now we've got a real feud. Next to the cold palace was a pitch-black lake. The imperial garden was on the opposite shore. Over there, it looked full of life, with singing birds and fragrant flowers, while our side was deathly gloomy. Those little thieves ran incredibly fast. Even the physically weak Consort Ning couldn't keep up, so two people literally carried her along as they ran. I thought they were going to bypass the Black Lake and head to the imperial garden to find someone to falsely accuse me. To my surprise, they stopped right where they were. Keeping my guard up against them, I scanned the surroundings. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of someone walking this way not far off. They were here. I had already guessed what kind of trick Consort Ning was planning next. It was nothing more than deliberately baiting me first, and then pretending to be pushed into the water by me. This click high is so old. I was lucky to survive being sent to the cold palace last time. If it happens again, I'm absolutely finished. But hey, I've already died once. Today, I'll play your game to the end. Everyone knows the cold palace is full of restless spirits, so an idea popped into my head. So I said, You ran all the way to the lakeside, do you know? Aren't you afraid it will crawl out? Noticing my apprehension, Consort Ning naturally grew tense. Her brow furrowed deeply into a tight knot.
What did you say?
Don't you know about them? Just that one. I gestured vividly with my hands. That one. The one who was locked in the cold palace and jumped into the lake with a heavy grievance? Why do you think this lake was black to begin with? It is entirely because...
Stop trying to scare me.
Consort Ning tried to compose herself and then added,
Lady Lin, right?
Actually, I had no idea who that was, nor did I understand what she was talking about, but finding out that there really was such a story made me, who was just bluffing, instantly more excited. I got even more into character. Yes, she absolutely loves to sing. I used to hear her all the time in the cold palace. She sang so beautifully. Sometimes she would even come and knock on my door, and when she was sad, he wailed even louder than I did.
But isn't she dead?
Consort Ning's face instantly went pale. Some people are dead, but are actually still alive, while some are alive but might as well be dead. In the middle of the night that day, she was crying and knocking on the door. The moment I opened it, he suddenly grabbed my arm. Just like this. Her wrist was suddenly grabbed with a violent yank. Consort Ning shrieked in terror. I tumbled right into the lake along with her falling body. When I woke up, I was on a large, soft, luxurious bed. The blankets were a brilliant golden color, and a golden dragon was actually carved into the headboard. That is right. I was sleeping in the emperor's bed. He looked like he was in an excellent mood, wiggling his eyebrows at me. What is going on here? Just as I sat up, the emperor actually reached out to support my waist. Something is definitely wrong. Since when did he become so considerate?
The Empress's enemy has been eliminated.
The arrogant attitude he had when arguing with me earlier was completely gone. Oh no, the emperor has actually changed his tune. Was it him who fell into the water? Or was it me? Don't tell me. Did he transmigrate too? Your Majesty, please don't do this. Staring at me like that. He then composed himself and carefully explained the whole story to me. As I listened, I couldn't help but scream, holy crap, in my mind. After hearing everything, I was completely dumbfounded.
Consort Ning had repeatedly framed the Empress. She committed insubordination, a crime punishable by death. The Ning family had been accepting bribes and embezzling from the national treasury. With all their old and new crimes tallied up, their entire household was seized.
The scumbag emperor's tenderness toward Consort Ning yesterday was completely gone. The speed at which this man turned his back on her was truly shocking. Breaking news, the wicked Consort Ning has kicked the bucket. The entire internet is cheering at this satisfying outcome. I've made a comeback and the Ning family has fallen. I've reclaimed my throne as the master of the imperial harem, but the emperor's persona has completely shattered. Turns out he is just a cold-blooded, heartless man. I can't wait to start a side hustle immediately and publish a harem newsletter. If I could get a copy into everyone's hands, the daily profit would be 6 times what I make from my street stall. That is brilliant. While I was busy calculating, the emperor suddenly took my hand.
I've let you suffer. Your husband will definitely make it up to you in the future.
With this, my business calculations instantly shifted to extortion. Want to make it up to me? This amount won't do. I held out both hands and even curled up my toes.
What is it? Have you fallen in love with money?
He massaged his temples, his eyes full of indulgence.
It is fine. My money is yours to spend as you please from now on.
I swallowed hard. Did he mean I basically have endless money to spend. But why do I feel so uneasy? I'm used to him being short-tempered and fierce. Like this, I'm really not used to it.
My dear wife.
Seeing that I didn't answer him, he asked, "What is this?" The emperor is clearly a major sleazeball. I couldn't hold it in and retched because of this single gag. Everyone suspected I was pregnant. I explained to them several times that I was just disgusted to the point of vomiting by him, but the old imperial physician refused to believe me. After feeling my pulse, he insisted I had a weak stomach. As a result, I had to drink bitter Chinese medicine for half a month. It was deathly bitter, yet I still couldn't take a crap. After being well fed and pampered by the emperor for a while, I proposed to resume my street stall business. The emperor absolutely refused to agree, saying it violated public regulations. I talked until my tongue was sore, but still couldn't convince him. I could only write a letter to tell my parents. From my parents' reply, I could deeply feel their joy. My mother urged me to serve the emperor well. As for the junk from the street stall, she would have my brother dig a tunnel to pack it up, ensuring no one could find any dirt on us. Right now, I only feel that my situation is miserable, but my brother has it even worse. Fortunately, the emperor doesn't look for trouble, and he treats me exceptionally well. One day, I asked him what he wanted to eat for dinner, saying that if I, the consort, was in a good mood, I would cook. I saw his eyes light up. He threw all the memorials aside, grabbed my hand, and uttered the words I would never forget: "Make a whole plate of stinky tofu." That plate of stinky tofu earned me a gold bar. I was absolutely thrilled and laughed all night long under the covers. The emperor was also overjoyed. Suddenly, I sat up straight in bed. Could the truth be that the emperor himself wanted to eat stinky tofu? I seemed to have realized a massive secret. Thinking carefully about Consort Li, her garden was filled with fragrant flowers. How could she possibly look like someone who loved stinky tofu? Thinking back to that other time, it was clearly her eating stinky tofu that choked Consort Ning until she fainted, and that happened twice. Now, I understood. He definitely didn't truly like Consort Ning. When you truly love someone, how could you choke them with something so smelly? This move was too wicked. After straightening out this logic, a trace of secret joy actually welled up in my heart. What on earth was I happy about? I couldn't really say. Lately, this young emperor has been acting as if he is possessed. For example, when we're eating, he'll pull out a beautifully wrapped bouquet of flowers from his side, or when walking, he would insist on grabbing my hand and squeezing it tightly. And he has summoned me for 30 consecutive nights. Yet he insists on sleeping on the hardwood in bed. Your Majesty, if you want to eat stinky tofu, please just say so. Is there any need to curry favor like this? I finally couldn't help but ask. I saw his brow furrow and then relax.
Have I not been eating it often lately?
Oh, right. Being praised put me in a great mood. I felt so happy that I wanted to show off my culinary skills and cook him a grand feast. Then, what was he doing all this for? Later tonight, I finally saw through his true intentions. The bastard was after my body. I remember waking up in the middle of the night to use the restroom, only to open my eyes and find the emperor lying right beside me. His hands were even draped over my waist. Unbelievable. It turns out he has been coming over every day to take advantage of me. I quickly shook him awake. What is the meaning of this? He rubbed his eyes, looking half asleep and dazed, and replied,
Anyway, you are my lawfully wedded wife.
I was left utterly speechless. It seemed there was indeed nothing wrong with that. But why was my heart fluttering a little? The next day, the emperor invited me to slip out of the palace in casual clothes. I agreed. The carriage stopped at the city gates. I excitedly jumped down and looked around. Today happened to coincide with the Citizens' Lantern Festival, with people bustling about, shoulder to shoulder, and it was incredibly lively. I hadn't seen such a scene in many years. I stared blankly, and the emperor silently came to stand beside me. I looked up at him. I only saw his flawless profile and a pair of gentle, affectionate eyes.
Let's go.
He proactively reached out his hand. I was still hesitating, but he gave me no time to react. He immediately and firmly grasped my hand. The emperor led me by the hand as we strolled down the streets, buying me almost everything I looked at for more than 3 seconds. The warmth of everyday life is what touches the heart most. The street night market was buzzing with voices, making it extremely lively. I was a bit distracted, feeling an indescribable sense of melancholy. I guess I was homesick. Surprisingly, the emperor was actually running around grabbing free food like a little kid, his eyes shining with pure novelty. He popped up out of nowhere.
Wife, try this flatbread.
He handed a piece of flatbread to me. The flatbread was brushed with a layer of glistening, enticing chili sauce, and it smelled mouth-wateringly good. With an indifferent attitude, I somehow opened my mouth and took a bite. It tastes awful. Though this flatbread looked nice and smelled great, it tasted completely bland when chewed. The emperor looked so excited he was about to jump to the sky.
It is supposed to taste bad. Ah, the flatbread made by my wife tastes the best after all.
Of course. Don't flatter me blindly. I pretended to be disdainful, but I felt a touch of joy in my heart. The emperor slipped away again. For some reason, I actually found his situation quite pitiful. At most, I had only lost my freedom for these past few years, and I still lived a very joyful life. But since the emperor was born, how many times had he ever been this carefree? I was zoning out as I walked, when I suddenly bumped into a wall of a chest. I took a step back and looked up. The emperor was looking at me with a bright smile. Tonight was a full moon. The bright, clear moonlight fell upon his cheeks, outlining an incredibly handsome face. His long eyelashes seemed sprinkled with starlight. The night was chilly, yet he was like the warm sun. Time stood still at this second. I could clearly see my own reflection in his deep eyes. Then he actually conjured a bouquet of flowers from behind his back. No, it was a bouquet made of candied hawthorns. The emperor shoved the bouquet into my hands.
Give me a big, healthy son.
A crowd of onlookers, young and old, had gathered around us. Everyone applauded, about to chant some cliché slogans. I was a bit touched at first, but now I just felt incredibly embarrassed. I threw the bouquet back at him, turned around, and ran off. What a psycho.
Your Majesty, please appease your anger. Your Majesty is probably just too embarrassed.
Eunuch Li kowtowed repeatedly. The emperor kept a stiff face, completely ignoring him.
Your Majesty, why don't we just forget about this? The harem is filled with beautiful women. With your charm, Your Majesty, those ladies would be more than eager to serve you every night.
Can they fry stinky tofu?
No, but...
Shut up. For the next 2 days after returning to the palace, the emperor did not come to bother me. Since I had nothing to do, I decided to pass the time by tending to the potted plants in the courtyard. Today, my maid came to report.
After you left him behind that day, the emperor was ambushed by assassins. Right now, he is lying in bed unconscious.
I shuddered in shock. Dropping the shears in my hand, I grabbed my skirt and bolted. That stupid man. Nothing must happen to him. If he dies, who am I going to rely on for food and drink in the future? And if some minister takes the opportunity to rebel, I will have to be buried alive with him. A path that usually takes 15 minutes by sedan chair. I ran in just 3 minutes, out of breath. I rushed to the imperial bed, only to see him lying on the couch, his face pale and sickly. In the basin nearby, there was bloody water from cleaning his wounds. Seeing this scene, tears actually welled up in my eyes, completely catching me off guard. Then, thinking about how if the emperor dies, the world will fall into chaos, and since I don't even have a child, I would definitely be forced to be buried with him. I let out a loud wail and cried even harder. I must have cried too mindlessly, for I didn't realize at all what an ugly state I was in, slumped over the emperor's chest, covered in tears and snot. When I finally realized, I leaped off him as if I had seen a ghost. You're not dead? The emperor didn't pay attention to me at all. He just couldn't stop laughing out loud.
You do have me in your heart.
I don't.
You do.
I was purely afraid that if you died, I would have to be buried alive with you. Hearing this, the emperor's gaze darkened slightly.
Is that so?
For some reason, when he asked this, I actually didn't dare to respond. I turned around, wanting to run away again. I admitted defeat. I admitted that I still cared about him quite a bit in my heart, but I also didn't expect that I could actually listen to his confession so obediently and quietly. He spoke a long, continuous stream of words.
I just want you to know that my feelings have never changed.
He was also showing off his literary talent along the way. I stood there like a wooden chicken, listening half-heartedly. He seemed to have noticed this. He abruptly stopped talking, lowering his head to study my expression, and then said,
You ask and I will answer.
Since things had already reached this point, I simply asked whatever came to my mind. When did you first start to take a fancy to me?
Before you entered the cold palace. Before, every time I passed by your place, I always felt that the food you cooked smelled incredibly delicious. Occasionally, when I went in to try it, I would even be kicked out by you.
Just how early on was that? I couldn't figure it out. When I traveled to this world, I was clearly already in the cold palace. Could the one he took a fancy to actually be the former me?
Consort Ning was jealous of you and got into a physical scuffle with you in the imperial garden. You fell to the ground and hit the back of your head. Fortunately, your life was saved, but you suffered from amnesia. She also miscarried because of it. However, The Ning family's power was too vast. Only from then on did I understand. Only by demoting you to the cold palaces could I temporarily keep you safe. Afterward, on the surface, I showered Consort Ning with constant favor, while secretly dismantling the Ning family's power. Now that the Ning family's matter is resolved, next, the events of that period naturally allowed him to withdraw.
Only after learning the inside story did I understand how happy the emperor was. On the day Consort Ning was finished,
It was actually too easy on him to let him slip away so easily. Otherwise, I would have wanted to suffocate him with stinky tofu.
he made me laugh. For someone who faints at the mere smell of stinky tofu, that tactic is a bit too cruel. Since that is the case, when exactly did I travel here? Even earlier, did my personality change drastically back then?
Indeed, it did. You used to be very proper and disciplined, and you didn't know how to cook at all. Two completely different people. I could naturally tell them apart. Not only that, I also knew you were digging a tunnel, moving materials, and setting up a stall.
I was dazed, but as I thought about it seriously, as the emperor, wasn't it quite reasonable for him to know? Logically speaking, it would be weird if he didn't punish me.
But whether you are a human or a ghost, I do not care.
I'm not a ghost. I traveled through time. I'm a human, just from the future. As if his confusion was finally resolved, he gave a meaningful nod. He truly is the emperor, to be able to calmly accept such an absurd thing. Then I want to ask, why did you take a fancy to me? I asked again.
At first, it was because your culinary skills were superb, which made me addicted. Later, after trying your stinky tofu, I held you in even higher regard. After spending time together, I found that when I'm with my wife, I can experience an unprecedented happiness.
When did you first eat stinky tofu anyway?
The very first time you set up your stall, I tried everything at your stall. Stinky tofu is the goat.
Oh gosh. Where did you learn goat from?
You taught her. She taught me.
Who is that? Noble Consort Li. I finally get it. Noble Consort Li. She was the one who kept ordering takeout of stinky tofu to her room every now and then, and told me to keep it a secret. Turns out she was the emperor's secret agent. Seeing my expression turn sour, the emperor hastily explained.
Don't overthink it. Even though I've been running to Noble Consort Li's place for the past 3 years, it was only for the Foodie Alliance.
Foodie Alliance?
You taught her. She taught me.
Then what about the baby in Consort Ning's belly?
She is just a green tea bitch. The child wasn't mine in the first place. Humph, with those little tricks of hers, there is no way I would fall for them.
You even know green tea? I was utterly shocked.
You taught her, and she...
I get it. I curled my lip, blaming myself. I shouldn't have gossiped all day with the customers who came to eat. Whenever Consort Ning was mentioned, I would always call her a green tea bitch. Then why did you call me a jealous woman earlier? What is going on? Recalling this incident, I couldn't help but feel a secret satisfaction.
Wasn't it because the Ning family had spies around? I had no choice.
The emperor spoke with a touch of grievance. I couldn't help but laugh. But you're the emperor.
So what if I'm the emperor? The emperor has worries too. There are things I want to do but cannot, places I want to go but cannot reach, and people I want to keep but cannot hold.
Those last 5 words. He stared at me with intense longing as he said them. Feeling his burning gaze, I quickly lowered my head.
Now that you are finished with your questions, it is my turn to ask, is it not?
His deep voice made my heart flutter. I nodded.
Are you willing to?
I could basically guess what he was going to ask, but I chickened out. His intensely adoring gaze made me blush, so I immediately cut him off. I am willing. The emperor's smile grew wider and wider. The hand on my waist suddenly tightened, and with a quick turn, I was pulled flat against his chest. My eyes widened. What are you doing? His brow arched with amusement.
My question was, are you willing to spend the rest of your life with me? As my devoted companion?
I was at a loss for words. I never expected that one day I would be outsmarted by this rigid, boring ancient guy.
The Empress has already promised me.
The Emperor's deep eyes were crystal clear, filled with an incredibly charming tenderness. Oh, well, I've always known that when you meet a good man, you have to hold on tight. Besides, he is rich, handsome, and has a great body, and his heart is completely devoted to me. Plus, I don't really dislike him that much. Just as I was thinking this, the figure before me slowly leaned in closer.
I never considered myself a foodie. until I met her. It was as if the Empress had been possessed by a ghost. On the 178th day of her pestering me, at the very moment she was trying to win my favor, she suddenly collapsed to the ground with a thud and immediately started babbling nonsense.
Holy crap. What is this? Wasn't I just eating skewers? Where is my alcohol? Where is my roasted duck leg? I haven't paid the bill yet. Boss.
She looked utterly dazed, as if she had gone mad. Just as I was about to call for the imperial physician, I only saw her stand up with a dazed expression and utter that line as if she were utterly ecstatic. I've time traveled.
Awesome. I just got my paycheck and wanted to splurge. I went through all the trouble of ordering so much delicious food and ended up time traveling right after. I really didn't expect to get a free meal out of it.
Hump. I want to see what kind of tricks she is playing now. She suddenly looked over at me.
Hey, what is today's date? This is the first time in my life I've dined and dashed. I have to write it down in my notebook.
The first year of Jiahuai. Wait, why did I even answer her? Chatting with her makes me look like an idiot too. I waved my sleeve and stood up. Hurry up and take the Empress away. Then, without even looking back, I walked away. From behind, a few disgruntled murmurs vaguely drifted over. The number of days the Empress spent trying to please me stopped at 187. I felt exceptionally comfortable and pleased. My entire body felt light and relaxed. Women are truly a hassle, but there is still one whom I want to provoke but cannot afford to, Consort Ning. Although the imperial court and the harem have no direct connection, they are still deeply intertwined. My mother once said that praying to the peach blossom tree in the imperial garden can make dreams come true. I am not as superstitious as a naive young boy. If a tree were truly that magical, then I'd wish for all the women in the imperial harem to disappear. The main point is her, but she hasn't shown her face since that day. The imperial physician has seen her too,
and nothing is wrong with her.
I keep feeling as though the Empress is no longer the Empress. Anyway, on the way to the imperial garden, I have to pass by Fengyu Palace. I'll just take a stroll and drop by on my way. I absolutely must not let her see me, otherwise she will surely be overjoyed and go back to pestering me relentlessly.
Your Majesty, forgive this servant for speaking too much, but you usually go out of your way to avoid Fengju Palace.
So you do know you speak too much. Before I even reached the entrance of the courtyard, a sweet fragrance wafted directly toward me. That aroma, drifting with notes of fruit and milk, left me dazed. Fine. I shall go and check on the Empress today. When I stepped into the Empress's courtyard, she quite clearly wore a look of sheer annoyance on her face. I rubbed my eyes. I really wasn't seeing things. The Empress seemed to have forgotten all rules of etiquette. I balled my hand into a fist and coughed to remind her. That was giving her plenty of face, wasn't it?
I'm on my period. Don't annoy me.
When did the minister's wife enter the palace? And how dare she be so arrogant? Before I even had time to be shocked, I heard her muttering again.
It was so hard to make this apple crepe cake. Why is someone here to freeload again?
Looking up, there were bright red apples on the table, along with some mushy white stuff. It smelled very sweet and had a strong milky aroma, but she didn't seem to welcome me. What? Am I not even worthy of tasting your cooking?
We're not that close, are we?
Her brow furrowed. She walked over to the corner and casually grabbed a large broom. At this, the maids and eunuchs knelt down one after another to kowtow. Yet she actually stared at me defiantly and swung the broom high in the air.
Go back to wherever you came from.
I am the emperor after all. If she actually hit me, where would my dignity go? So, I turned on my heel and left.
Your Majesty, Her Majesty the Empress is so arrogant. She should be severely punished. To establish the rules, the Empress is the leader of the imperial harem. With her behaving like this now, how can she set an example for the harem?
Eunuch Li was still muttering along the way. I felt annoyed. This person is not the real Empress at all. No matter what tricks she played, she wouldn't have the audacity to do this. Besides, she knew the palace rules best. Right now, she didn't even pay her respects properly. Who on earth is she? And how did she make such a rare thing? What did she call it? A crepe cake? I was truly curious. I waved my hand to silence. Eunuch Li's endless babbling. Pass on my decree. Tomorrow, find a master of the occult to examine Fengyu Palace, but keep the Empress in the dark.
This servant understands.
The next day, as I was reading the memorials, Eunuch Li rushed in.
Your Majesty, today, Master Xuanzan was right outside the gates of Fengyu Palace, plastering talismans all over the walls, but he was caught red-handed by the Empress. Haze. So the plan was blown. But fortunately, Her Highness didn't realize the man was sent by the Emperor. It is just that when Her Highness saw Master Xuanzan, she was absolutely thrilled. She said she wanted to study under him as an apprentice and learn how to draw talismans.
My head throbbed with a dull ache. For a moment, I was at a loss for how to handle this. Then, I beckoned someone forward with my hand.
What are your instructions, Your Majesty?
Go to Fengyu Palace and bring back one of the maids, but do it quietly.
Your servant understands.
When the maid arrived, she was utterly terrified. She knelt on the floor, trembling, not daring to look up. Rise. I only want to ask you a few casual questions. She raised her face, which was already drenched in tears.
Very well.
Has the Empress been acting unusual lately?
This servant dares not hide the truth. The Empress indeed has been acting very strange. But this servant feels that the Empress has become much better than before.
Better in what way? In her audacity and arrogance, or in her complete disregard for the law?
Please appease your anger, Your Majesty. Even though Her Highness acts this way, she often makes delicious food and invites us, her servants, to taste it.
The food from the main imperial kitchen isn't to her liking.
Her Highness said she isn't used to it. She prefers heavier flavors.
What does heavier flavors mean?
This servant was also puzzled at first. Her Highness said it means favoring spicy, numbing, and oily dishes.
I knit my brows tightly. If one were to eat spicy oil dishes every day, they would have diarrhea within 3 days.
More than that, Her Majesty also says it is no fun if it isn't spicy.
What a novel way of cooking. What kind of dishes are there?
Roasted chicken legs, roasted duck legs, roasted pork, roasted beef, roasted fish, and also that garlic eggplant. It is absolutely delicious. Her Majesty even said that absolutely anything can be roasted.
Hearing her description, I couldn't help but swallow my saliva. Passing by Fengyu Palace again. The food here today was exceptionally enticing. It seemed a pot of rich soup was being stewed. Eunuch Li saw through my thoughts and quietly brought that maid out again. What delicious food did the Empress make today?
To report to Your Majesty. Her Majesty says this is called malatang.
Go ladle a bowl of it for us to taste. Though she hesitated, she still complied. And just like that, I got my wish and ate a small, brimful bowl of malatang. The soup base was extremely flavorful, with a hint of spiciness. I never imagined it would taste like this. To say it was just a bowl of noodles would be too simple, but to call it a single dish, it was far richer than that. Excellent. I gave Eunuch Li a look. He understood immediately, pulled the maid to the side, and began to consult in a low voice. The maid went into the room, and only returned after a long while.
Reporting to Your Majesty. Her Majesty says she only cares about the meals here, and she won't bother with anyone else.
I was very annoyed. How could there be such an unreasonable woman? Yet, I really had no way to deal with her. Go ask her again. What will it take to include us? After a moment, the maid returned with the answer.
Her Majesty says, humans crave wealth. And birds crave food. As long as there is money, it can be arranged.
How is that difficult? I waved my hand. Reward the Empress. I was finally able to come and go as I pleased in Fengyu Palace to eat her food. But that little money grubber had people guarding the entrance to collect money, saying she was selling some kind of admission tickets. To think I had to pay just to enter the Empress's chambers. But I accepted it. Money and wealth are illusionary. Only what goes into your stomach is real and good. The key is that money can truly make people change their faces. The Empress suddenly became exceptionally warm and welcoming toward me.
The Emperor has arrived.
I saw that little figure come running over, hopping and skipping.
What would Your Majesty like to order today?
I suddenly remembered the meal fuel cake from the first time I was turned away at her door, so I casually mentioned, just that white, mushy thing.
No problem, Your Majesty. I'll make it right away.
She walked toward the kitchen, beaming with joy. After a couple of steps, she turned back to remind me.
Your Majesty, that is called an apple milfeuille.
I understood, and I secretly made a mental note of this new term. Shortly after, a yellow, round pastry wafting with a milky aroma was placed in front of me. I studied it carefully. This thing was barely half a foot tall. So why was it called 1,000 layer? After hearing the Empress's answer, I regretted it immensely. I had really asked a rather foolish question. If this is called an apple 1,000-layer cake, why are there only 7 layers? She suddenly clutched her stomach and burst into wild laughter, throwing all sense of decorum and etiquette to the wind.
Your Majesty, that is just a name. It is just an exaggeration. Just like how there are no wives in sweetheart cakes, no mineral mines in mineral water, no husband and wife in husband and wife lung slices, no fresh fish in fish fragrant shredded pork, no lions in lion's head meatballs, and no mapo in mapo tofu.
Watching her shake her little head and babble all this, I honestly did not understand a single word, but I did understand that 1,000 layer was merely a name. Seeing my face full of utter confusion, she seemed to find it even more amusing.
I'm laughing so hard I'm spitting things out.
What did you spit out?
I spat right onto your dragon robe.
I did not know how the Empress could blurt out such vulgar words so casually, but I really truly wanted to figure out what those words meant. Why were there so many of these things? I had never heard of them before. Where on earth did they come from? It left my heart itching with curiosity. But the Empress just said,
Oh, I don't have time to explain it to you. We are completely speaking different languages.
"Then, can I learn to speak yours?" The Empress was in an excellent mood. She said to me,
Would you like to get a monthly subscription package? To become a member, it is only 9 taels for the first month and 19 taels for each renewal month. If you let it lapse and pay as you go, it'll cost 25 taels a month.
I agree.
I'm not tricking you, Your Majesty. This really is a great bargain.
She patted her chest with great confidence.
Honest prices for everyone, young and old.
Looking at her goofy, endearing look, I didn't know why, but I actually felt delighted. The next day, the Empress said she would make me a pot of good tea. My heart was filled with anticipation as I left the imperial court, hurrying straight to Fengyu Palace, a blend of black tea and milk. It tastes smooth and fills your mouth with aroma.
This is called milk tea, just like the name suggests, but this drink comes in all kinds of flavors.
Since it is so simple, then how can it have so many different flavors?
This is also a craft. It looks simple, but there is actually a huge difference between a good cup and a bad one. The key lies in the ingredients.
After the Empress finished speaking, she prepared a cup of oolong milk tea for me.
Whichever tea Your Majesty likes to drink, I can turn it into that kind of milk tea.
She seemed to remember something, turned around, and scooped another spoonful of. I couldn't tell what it was. Then I saw it clearly, that they were round, translucent little things. She quickly and deftly poured them into the bowl, and stared at me with an expectant look on her face.
Hurry, try these pearls.
I understood then. These pearls were not actual pearls. Rather, pearls was a term used in the craft of milk tea. Am I right?
Exactly.
The Empress nodded excitedly. I chewed them, and found them quite chewy, and slightly sweet. Since then, milk tea became an indispensable drink during my meals, but my absolute favorite was the taro paste boba milk tea. Still, I had one lingering question. Why was the Empress able to come up with these names so casually and on the spot? The Empress is truly a woman of great learning. There is no limit to knowledge. I must continue to learn from her. I thought our lives would continue like this forever, but a certain matter recently left me utterly baffled. Consort Ning is pregnant, but the child is absolutely not mine. Chancellor Ning even told me to spend more time with Consort Ning. The child isn't even mine, yet he actually asked me to keep her company. When the Empress heard about this, she gave me the cold shoulder. Not mine. I spent a long time explaining to her. After listening, she replied,
Your Majesty, so you've been cuckolded.
I noted down those words. How strange. Being cuckolded and cheated on sound so different. Do they mean the same thing? Perhaps it is just to save breath. In any case, I must investigate the truth in secret. If Consort Ning dares to give birth to that bastard, I will show her no mercy. My eldest son must be born of the Empress, but I never dreamed that Consort Ning would use her child to frame the Empress.
She hit her head.
And might suffer from amnesia. She might not even remember me when she wakes up. That venomous woman. If you had known this would happen, I should never have brought her into the palace in the first place. I knew clearly that to protect the Empress, I had to eliminate all threats first. I could only temporarily confine her to the cold palace. Consort Ning and her family are complacent now, and I will make her even more comfortable before kicking them into the bottomless abyss. Uniquely had the Empress settled in the cold palace, ensuring she lacked nothing in food and clothing, but I was still anxious, and desperately wanted to go see her. Consort Ning and I happened to run into each other in the imperial garden. Left with no choice, I had to join her in looking at the flowers. She seemed in high spirits, but I couldn't bring myself to smile at all.
Your Majesty, do you see that peach tree ahead? In our harem. It is rumored that making a wish at that peach tree is incredibly effective. Your Majesty, please come over with me.
I pondered for a moment, vaguely remembering that I once wanted to make a wish for the Empress to get lost. Recalling that now, I really should laugh at my past self. I agreed to go with Consort Ning, not because I really wanted to make a wish with her, but because I also had a dream that I hoped heaven would hear.
Your Majesty, I pray that you stay strong and healthy, and can stay by my side year after year.
Consort Ning clasped her hands together, smiling very sweetly. I also clasped my hands, closing my eyes in all sincerity. May heaven be my witness. First, I pray for peace in the world. Second, I pray for my wife's happiness. Third, I pray that our love will never fade, and that the two of us can be together forever. After a long time, I opened my eyes and saw Consort Ning staring at me expectantly.
What did your Majesty wish for?
Don't you know? That saying it out loud makes it lose its magic. A few days later, I heard that the Empress had woken up. The Empress is awake. I was overjoyed in my heart. During the time we couldn't meet, I planned to work desperately to clean up the imperial court. Once this matter is settled, I can focus entirely on being with my wife. But I never expected it would actually take over 3 years. Fortunately, the Empress that little fox, managed to live comfortably and happily, even in the cold palace. It was a shame I couldn't openly enjoy her cooking, so I had to ask Consort Li for help. It was truly surprising that someone as cold and aloof as Consort Li would also be a die-hard fan of the cold palace night market. As expected of the woman I think of day and night, my wife is indeed capable. She must have made a fortune during this time, probably over the moon with joy by now. In fact, when I occasionally couldn't help myself, I would quietly go to see her. Chancellor Ning's faction in the imperial court rebelled on the very day Consort Ning and the Empress fell into the water. To catch this group of people, I endured for 3 years. He attempted to usurp the throne, so I rooted out his entire family. I couldn't hold back my eagerness anymore. I had to go find the Empress right away to speak my mind freely. I went to consult Eunuch Li on how to make a girl happy. Eunuch Li talked with great pretense of reason.
This matter requires careful planning.
I followed his advice to the letter, yet the Empress didn't appreciate it at all. I must have completely lost my mind to actually believe an old eunuch. That eunuch even went so far as to claim that the women of the imperial harem would throw themselves at me. Such nonsense. How could I not understand? But my heart only favors my wife. Then I came up with a brilliant idea. When the Empress fainted back then, I was so anxious and distressed. If something really happened to me, I wondered if the Empress would feel pain for me. I played a little trick on my wife, but I also figured out her true feelings. I coaxed her, held her tight, and poured my heart out to her. She leaned obediently against my chest, just like a little lamb. Softly, every single breath she took was filled with a sweet fragrance. The Empress said she came from thousands of years in the future. It sounded absurd, but I believed her completely, since the place she came from was indeed so interesting, and I truly, deeply loved her. She said she was willing, but she hadn't yet heard the rest of my words. Now, she has fallen right into my hands. My wife lowered her head, her entire face turning red. I really couldn't hold back, so I reached out and gave her a pinch. She shrank under the covers, revealing only 2 dark, round, shining eyes. She didn't say any sweet, romantic words to me, but instead blurted out this incredibly random line.
Your Majesty, could you please get back my secret recipe hot sauce that Consort Ning took from me and return it to me? The ingredients were very expensive.
I was both annoyed and amused, silently calling her a stingy little money grubber. But since my wife was so good at living thriftily, what more could I ask for? The Empress said she loved me. Her watery eyes rolled around.
Having seen the vastest ocean, no other scenery could ever catch her eye.
Having seen the vastest ocean, no other scenery could ever catch her eye. The same goes for me. In the days that followed, my big, chubby son was born. He looked so much like me. Meanwhile, my darling was still selling goods in the cold palace, managing my private funds. That silly girl. Could she actually think that only the money in her own pocket counted as her personal property? But as long as she was happy, that was all that mattered to me. I have also improved a lot, learning many modern slang words. My wife said some are called internet jokes, which I still can't quite tell apart, but I am willing to learn. No matter what, we have a long lifetime ahead of us. Taro paste boba milk tea is indeed delicious, but love is even sweeter. Occasionally, when I pass by the imperial garden, I still pray to the peach trees, all because I know heaven is listening.